Eddie, New York, you're in the Wilkow majority. Hello.
Hey, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
How do you think that veterans and members of our military are treated, economically by the government?
Well, if they're paying for illegal immigrants before veterans, like garbage.
Well, even if they weren't, do you think they make a good wage and that they're treated properly?
What do you want me to say on that? You want me to say the military wage is unfair?
Well, do you think it is?
I don't know what off the top of my head. It depends on what rank you are, how long you've been in, whether or not you've got combat pay. You can't just say the military wage. And as far as the military, it's a volunteer organization.
Sure it is, and everything is volunteer, isn't it? What you do for a living is volunteer. We're all volunteers. Nobody's holding a gun to anybody's head in this country to do anything.
But it's not like we're drafting people and then paying them what's considered an unfair wage.
But they do work hard and they do provide a vital service.
Absolutely,
and they don't make a lot of money. You have to say that, right?
What is it you want me to say? What is it you're leading me? Look, I've done this job long enough to know when somebody's trying to lead me someplace to make me express a sentiment or say something or sign on to something to make me look bad. So why don't we skip to the chase here?
Okay. If they're government employees and they don't have collective bargaining, they don't have a voice to speak for them for their wage, and they're really they live off of, if the alpha male, Congress or the president, wants to give them a raise, they get one. If they don't want to give them a raise, they don't get one. So you see what happens. How
can you have an organization from top to bottom that follows orders and have collective bargaining?
But the New York City police officer for 20 years.
Do you follow orders?
Follow orders.
No. What happens if you take your badge off and say, I quit?
Then you're out the door. See you later. You can't,
okay, the military can't do that. You can't be on the transport to Iraq and go, you know what, Sarge, I quit.
Oh, well, you ought to look into guys quitting over there sometimes. They stress out and whatever happens. But that's not
okay, but as a function of the military, Eddie, as a function of the military, you can't quit on the job. As a function of the police department, you can.
Okay, well, you know what? I guess you're right on that point, but believe me...
It's not that you guessed that I'm right. I am right.
I saw guys quit when I was in the military, okay? So please...
How did they quit? They quit in the middle of a mission? Like, hey, you know what, Sarge, I'm out of here.
No, not in the middle of the mission. When they got back to the mission, they picked up their stuff and left.
Was there time up? Hold on, Eddie. No, I'm not leading you down a path. There's a difference between when your contract... Look, I don't play games on this program. Are you talking there are guys that went AWOL and said, it's my right to go AWOL? Or is their contract up and they said, I don't wish to re-enlist?
No, they went AWOL. But okay, once again...
AWOL is not legal in the military. It's not legal.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
AWOL is not legal.
No, it's not. Well, it's not a crime. It is. It's not desertion. There's a difference. But I don't want to get really. Do we have to get into this? It's really.
Well, you're trying to make the police department. Hold on. You're trying to make the police department sound exactly like the military, and it's not.
Hardworking, valuable, impeccable government employees that have no collective bargaining really don't get the short end of the stick.
Fine. So then say the military should be unionized. Let's unionize the military.
There was a way to do it. You don't have to, when you say union, the first thing I'm sure that comes to your mind is strike. No, there are ways to do it. We have a tailor law in New York City that prohibits public employees from striking.
That didn't stop the transit workers.
They did that. That is correct. And you know what? They're not held to the same standards that uniformed employees are.
That is true.
They take orders, and we take oaths. They don't take an oath to protect and to serve the Constitution and the people. We do.
Well, then, sir, here's the thing. In the next round of elections, I have but one vote. If this is your charge and your platform, run on it.
Okay. Well, my point is, I contribute money to the Wounded Warriors Project.
So do I.
Why do I have to do that as a citizen?
I contribute to Blinded Veterans. I contribute to Salute America's Heroes. I contribute to Wounded Warriors. When I was asked to speak, I not only went to the Wounded Warriors event, I paid my way to get in, even though I was the keynote speaker. Not only did I pay for myself, I paid for my wife, and then I made a donation.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. That the government will not take care of its workers unless it's forced to. Well, you and I, as good Americans, and appreciate what these people have gone through, will write a check for them.
But now, Eddie, are you trying to tell me that a bureaucrat at the Department of Energy is the same as a Marine kicking in a door in Iraq?
Not even close. No, I'm not trying to say that, but I'll tell you that bureaucrat in the Department of Energy is making a damn good salary.
Well, then let's flip that. I wouldn't be against it. As a matter of fact, why don't we get rid of the Department of Energy and give all that money to the military? And while you're at it, get rid of the Department of Education and a bunch of other departments after departments, and give that money to Eddy's friends in the military. I would agree with that. There's nothing wrong with that. 1-866-95-PATRIOT.